Terry, you want a piece of this dark chocolate with almonds?
No, thank you. Can't do chocolate.
Really?
No.
Triggers migraines.
Oh, wow.
For a lot of people. Okay, are we ready?
The last piece.
Okay. So we're now ready for the meeting of the Successor Agency. This is the successor to the Brisbane Redevelopment Agency. And I guess we need to do a roll call.
Note that all council members are present.
And we have a couple of items we need to deal with, and I'm assuming since the first one is bond financing, that our finance director is going to be handling that.
Yes. At a previous meeting, the successor agency voted to save money and refinance our existing 2001A tabs. We brought that to the Oversight Board and they agreed with it. We brought that to the Department of Finance and the Department of Finance gave us the okay to refinance our 2001A tabs. In September, we found out that there was a refund for Walmart.com on their unsecured property tax. So every so often, the county assessor does an audit of their unsecured property tax rolls. What they found out was that Walmart.com back in 2010, 2011 had overpaid their unsecured property tax by $600. I know I've got it in the report. About $680,000. So what this meant was that the county is going to give the successor agency $680,000 less in RPTTF, which means that we will be about $652,000 short for what we would need to pay our bond issue upcoming in May. Fortunately, we were planning to refinance this bond issue anyway, working with our financial advisor, Marty Johnson. We have restructured the refinancing of the bond, where we would take front-end savings. So the RPTTF, the property tax that we're going to get, is going to be enough to make that first bond payment. We would then have lesser savings throughout the rest of the bond issue. But the net present value of savings would be the same as what we had talked about previously. And then right before I finished writing the staff report, we got a potential offer from a bank to do a private placement of the bond. The private placement would mean that we would not need to have a reserve fund. So if we don't need a reserve fund, that means we don't need to borrow the money for the reserve fund, and we could then restructure the bond issue where we have upfront savings, and because we would basically take advantage of the reserve fund throughout the life of the bond instead of on the last year's payment, we would have a about $150,000 to $200,000 savings every year, as opposed to having all that savings in that last year. At the moment, it's still looking good for that private placement. We are going through, the bank is going through its credit check process now. We are supposed to be told by November 26th whether or not they're going to actually be able to, we're going to be able to pass the credit check process. And a couple of the previous private placement, that took a little bit longer, and we were really pushing the deadlines. So if we get through that this bank feels that they're going to be able to do a private placement, we would come back with a staff report on December 2nd with new documents for you to look at and a new bond. And then after you looked at it, we would bring it to the Oversight Board for the Oversight Board to look at, so that way they could approve it. And based on what our bond counsel says, is that both the pro forma that you're looking at tonight and also the one that would be a private placement come within the rules of the DOF's guidance for what we're allowed to do and state law. So we would not need to go back to DOF another time. And I sent that question to our Oversight Board counsel, and he has the same opinion. So I got two attorneys agreeing. I thought that was a good sign. So all this tonight is just giving you an update as to where we are, and just to let you know that I may be coming back on December 2nd.
I hope you do.
Yeah. Well, I'm with this item.
Stuart, that's 2 weeks.
Yes. So we're going to know into November. It's late for me.
It is for me too.
So we will know on November 26th whether it will be a private placement or if we're going to go through the process with Piper Jaffray to have them do the full underwriting process. If we do a private placement, there are some other savings that we get. We don't have to do an official statement of other things. So we'd have a little bit of savings in other places.
Put out one of those humongous prospectus.
Right. We would not have to do that if it's a private placement.
Right.
Good.
So what were the issues in the past? It said that the private placement...
Well, the last one we did was the pension obligation bond. And it was as if after they said that they were going to do the deal, it was Umpqua, and I talked about Umpqua at that meeting. Umpqua took 3 weeks to get us through the credit check process, whereas when they told us they were going to do it, I thought they had already gone through the credit check process. So it was kind of a weird issue for us, and it caused, the delay was causing us some issues with making sure that we got the PERS payment on time, and we did. It all worked out fine, but it was just I wanted to make sure that before I brought a private placement possibility to you, that the credit check was approved, because we would like to have this bond closed by the end of December. If we get the bond closed by the end of December and sold, that would mean that any bonds up to $10 million that we sell next year would be bank qualified. On a normal process, bank qualification may save us 10 to 30 basis points. And we've talked about at the budget meetings about potentially doing a water and sewer bond issue for $5 million. I would like to get that bank qualified if we at all possibly can. So we're really trying to push this to make sure that we can close a deal by the end of December. If not, it's not the worst case scenario, because we still need to get this current bond refinanced prior to our May payment date.
Yeah.
Especially now that we're short $600 and some odd thousand.
Yeah.
And that's a one-time.
That is a one-time short, because it was a one-time refunding.
And on this schedule that you have for the
Yes.
the tax and the rate, I see the rates fluctuating from 2, 3, 4%, then back down to 3.
Yes.
Is there a reason for that?
I would need to ask my financial advisor. It may be just what they thought they could structure that year in. So I'd have to ask.
It just seems odd
Yeah.
that it would go from 2 to 3 to 4.
And then back down to 3.
And then down to 3, and then back to 5.
Right, then up to 5.
That's the next recession.
Yeah, I would have to ask.
Okay. But the math would still all work,
It would still all work.
because the cash flow savings does change, so it's not potentially a typo.
No. It would still work. We would still have enough money given how much money we're taking in without that refunding issue. And the refunding was a person filled out the form the same way 3 years in a row, and all their computer equipment had moved out of town. So they acted as if all their computer equipment was still in town when it had moved to its new location. So it was just somebody at Walmart.com misfilling out a form.
Okay.
So, if I may ask them that.
Sure.
So this chart here, this is going through,
This would not be a private placement. This would be going
Yeah.
Piper Jaffray doing
the
this.
Piper Jaffray. Yeah, and so if we did go through a bank, what would be the net savings? Do you have an idea on that?
The net savings would still be the same.
Would still be the same.
Right, it's just how you take that
How you
savings.
get the money.
Yes,
Okay, either in the beginning or you get it
at the end.
at the end. Okay.
Well, it would be either you get it throughout the entire life of the bond, or you get it all at the end.
Okay. And would there be any other savings going through the bank than through?
Yeah, I mean, we would save a little bit of money because we don't have to do an entire official statement. We've already started the process of the official statement, so we would probably need to pay that person for some of their work, but we wouldn't need to pay for the whole statement. So we'd have, maybe $15,000, $40,000 worth of other, miscellaneous savings.
Okay.
So on a $20 million bond issue, not a large amount, but it would still be a savings if we can do it for
Sure.
a private placement.
And if we did the private placement, would that, you were saying, does that help our, like, credit rating?
No. I mean, either way, it's not going to be we're not going to go get a credit rating on this. This is going to be an unrated issue. It just means that if we do it through a private placement, you just have a single bank buying everything, as opposed to having Piper Jaffray having to go find investors.
Yeah, but you were talking about, for, like, some capital improvement bonds.
Right. So so the next step would be for me to, and we've talked a little bit at the facility subcommittee about this. So next year, in the budget, you agreed that we should do about $5 million worth of capital projects for the water and sewer. The tax law is that if you sell less than $10 million worth of bonds in a year as an entity, as a public entity, they could be what's called bank qualified. So that means a bank, if they bought it, would be able to get a discount on their taxes for buying that bond.
So it's an advantage for them.
So there's an advantage to the bank. So if there's an advantage to the bank, they give you some of that advantage. And that really depends on who you are, what the banks need at that time within their inventory for tax savings, what the interest rate spread is between a municipal bond and what they can borrow where they can borrow at other things or invest in other things. So you may or may not it may or may not be beneficial. When it is beneficial, it's in that 10 to 30 basis points, and a basis point is 1/100%. So 10 basis points would be 0.1%. So instead of having a rate of 2.1, you might have a rate of 2. So it's not a large benefit on a $5 million bond, but it's something, and if we can get it, I would rather save money than not.
Sure.
If we don't get it because we need to make sure this deal is clean, and if this one ends up that we're going to be in January, it was not the worst case scenario for us.
Okay.
And so I just need permission to continue forward.
Yeah,
I'd
okay.
say yes.
All right, next item.
And Betsy will do this one.
Okay.
Okay, what I'm bringing to you is the findings of the fourth audit
I
of
think
the.
your microphone's on, Betsy.
It is on, but
Is it?
it's not working. No.
I'll treat you.
Okay, what I'm bringing to you is the fourth audit of the Successor Agency, this time done by the State Controller's Office. So in the past year and a half, we have been audited by an auditor for the county. We've been audited twice for the DDRs, which was done under one of the things, and now we've been audited by the State Controller's Office. All looking at the same information, but this time they came up with findings, of which we don't necessarily agree. The first finding is that the interest that we have been paying, that the redevelopment agency paid the city for some outstanding advances that we've been making since 2005, they disagree that they should have made it, that we should not have made that payment to ourselves in 2011. Therefore, they want the $137,000 back. And the other item is that you have to jump through the hoops in the proper order. All the housing assets had to go to the successor agency and then transferred to the housing authority. And we did not show, though we did do it that way, we did not do it in the proper method, and the oversight board they want an okay from the oversight board in the form of a resolution retroactive back to February 1st of 2011 or 2012. And so what I'm looking for is you're okay to go ahead and take this to the oversight board for them to do the resolution, and then we want to issue a letter of disagreement to the State Controller's Office regarding their clawback.
And we cross our fingers and hope that they Okay.
As we all know, the state gets to do whatever the state wants to do. So we can hope, but it's a hope.
I mean, as the staff report shows, our current, I mean, not only did we go through 4 audits and all the auditors agreed with what we did,
Yeah.
our current auditor has told us that they do not believe the state controller has the authority to do to make their
Get
findings.
that in writing? Match it to our,
But the state controller is going to do what the state controller does. And then on the other issue, the oversight board had approved the transfer of the assets from the successor agency to the housing authority. It just didn't do it by resolution, because this was done very early on before things like that were formally known. I mean,
It's kind of interesting because I kind of remember vaguely, since I sit on the oversight panel, that you did bring that to the panel, and our attorney, for the oversight panel said, well, we need to do this by resolution.
I think he may have said that.
And
That's interesting.
then I thought we did it at the next meeting. So anyway, I'm a little bit confused by that, but that's just recollection. But
Yeah,
I do
we had to do
remember him
something else.
saying that we
Yeah.
need to do this by resolution.
There was something else we did by resolution. I think that one we didn't do.
Okay, anyway,
Yeah, but it's
I
already
was-
been, I mean, the oversight board already knew what we did.
right.
Everybody agreed with what we did.
Right. Okay, so we have 2 actions, and one is to take it back to the oversight panel to go through this formal process so that all auditors and subsequent auditors, God knows how many there will be, are happy that we followed the formal process properly, huh? Okay, so could I have a motion to that effect?
So it's a motion to accept the audit report from the state controller's office and send it back to the oversight board for,
No, it would be, as I understand it, it's a motion to
Bring the assets.
bring the asset transfer, the housing asset transfer, back to the oversight panel for their action via a formal resolution.
Yes. Let's,
Okay,
yeah.
I'll make that motion, but I do have a question, so I'll make the motion to put it on the table.
Anyone like to second it?
I'll second.
Okay, we got a second? All right, question.
On page 2, Stuart, of the staff report, has a table down below. It says current assets and capital assets. Is very last column under current assets, is that the Lau property?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I just wanted to know. All right, thank you. Very good.
Right.
You mean under current assets, right?
Right.
Right.
I just wasn't sure because of the identifying thing wasn't ringing a bell.
And then the second motion would be that when we receive.
Okay, why don't we do this first?
Oh, sorry, I thought you had already adopted it. I
I
apologize.
voted on it, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
all in
sorry.
favor, please say aye.
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 Okay,
And then for the second one, we have yet to receive the audit report from the state controller. They just gave us a heads up as to what it's going to say. But we need to respond within 10 days from the time that we receive the audit report in order to be within our time limit. If we were to try and wait 10 days and have both a successor agency meeting and an oversight board meeting, we may miss our 10-day opportunity. That's why we're bringing this to you
Okay.
ahead of it. So if we get this finding, we would like to respond with a disagreement.
the successor agency would authorize the preparation of a letter disagreeing with their finding on the interest rate question,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Then I had a question about who would be the appropriate person to write that letter? Whose name should it go under? Would it be better coming from, 2 attorneys, or what would be a better way to do this? Just in terms of,
Let me get with
legal strategy?
Right. Let me get with David on that to see if it would be better from him or maybe better from whoever
State panel attorney or
maybe
both?
the mayor.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, whatever has the most clout.
Yeah.
Usually it's the case that when an attorney signs something, it has a little bit more clout.
Usually.
Yeah? Well, I guess there are exceptions, but usually that's the case, right?
Right, I'll get with David to see who the best signator would be.
Okay, all right. Okay, so we have a motion second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Move approval of minutes.
No second?
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So that completes the meeting of the successor agency
And move to adjourn?
to the city council workshop on reorganization.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 I'll just do it here,
No, I think we're supposed to go, and it says we're supposed
Oh,
to go in the conference room.
No, are we?
We'll do it here? Where are we supposed to go? Conference. Right? Okay. So what's your,